Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. What's up, brother?
What's going on? What's going on?
Right,
How's everybody doing?
I'm just gonna take the music down.
Yes.
No music. How was the driving, bro? It was good.
It was good. I had an early day. I was in doctor's appointments running around, so I'm good. How are you?
I'm all right. I got my nap, man. That nap just comes. Pause. Just hey, listen, old man, lay down.
Yeah.
But I'm starting to feel a little less lethargic, and I'm sort of glad that we're doing this show right now because maybe I can ask our guest about what's going on, what's going on with me. She'll be able to help.
It's not a bad idea. You doing your walk-in and stuff like I told you?
Yeah, man. I'm waiting to get cleared for the gym.
Yeah, now walking, just do your walking. That is the start, and then you worry about the gym later.
I don't know if everybody realizes it. Salute to my baby sis, Ms. Zenobia McCardo, and my son fools Asa and Josiah. Behave yourselves. Sully's become the voice in my head, my conscience, if you would. Every time I'm on the couch or watching a program, I always hear him, yo, did you walk today? You need to just walk. You need to get up.
Yeah, man.
So, yeah, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing for me. Like, the recovery is what it is. But the pain in my joints, like right now, when I get up, I'm gonna feel that stiffness in my knee, and I've never had those issues before. So, whatever, we'll work it through. But tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we see the regular schmegler. We have a very special guest, as always, from Brooklyn, Miss Annita Taylor. Now, I don't want to get into too much about who she is and what she does. I want to let her tell that. But just understand, first and foremost, Miss Taylor has an immense amount of letters behind her name. So when you talk about Miss Annita Taylor, put some respect on her name because she's about her business, all right? And secondly, I hope that everybody has come on with questions because tonight is all about health and wealth. And those things are one and the same. They are parallel to each other. And once we start understanding that these things are paramount or they should be paramount on our lives, we'll start living better, much better. So, we're going to run this track right now. Get it started.
Let's run the track. I'm looking like Joe Botones. Joe Botones, not Joe Buttons. Joe Botones.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's go. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mr. A.
Sally Song in the building.
And this is the set 6145. Tonight, as I stated earlier, we have Miss Annita Taylor, health and wealth practitioner. And we're going to have a discussion tonight. We're going to get to know her, and we're going to ask her loads of questions because, being at the halftime of life, a lot of things start to change for you. And I need to know what the hell's going on. I need some help. So I hope everybody's going to enjoy the conversation, and I hope everybody has a lot of questions. Without further ado, the set welcomes Miss Annita Taylor. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Okay. Well, no, we're glad you could share your time. So there's so much to talk about tonight. But first and foremost, let's rip the Band-Aid off because I know this is a hot topic and everything is going on right now with this subject. And you being a practitioner and a woman specifically, let's just get it out of the way because this will take up a lot of time. Yeah. What are your feelings on the abortion issue and what is about to transpire in this country? And how do you think it will affect specifically women of color the most?
Well, boy, I really just have one thing to say, to be honest with you, gentlemen. When it comes to a woman's choice and what she decides to do with her body, as a practitioner, what I can say is this. I do not have the right to tell a woman what she can and cannot do with her body as long as her health is not affected by it. Okay? So when it comes to abortion, so many people I have been, reading on social media and, I've had conversations with my friends since this whole thing came out. And the one thing that we keep seeing is, oh, liberals this, liberals that, use protection, use a condom or the pull-out method, quote unquote, which we call Planned Parenthood, right? Okay. But what they don't understand, or most people don't realize, there's so many other reasons why a woman would have an abortion, right?
Yes.
So we're not just talking about using abortion as a form of birth control.
Exactly.
Right. So you have other issues that a woman may have. Maybe it's an underlying condition, right, that would warrant an abortion.
Right.
What about rape? What about rape? Are we talking about things like that? What about incest? What are we talking about? What about if your birth control method fails? Right. So you've done everything that you were supposed to do. You had your implant and all these things, and it fails. Nothing is 100%, right?
Exactly.
And we as adults, we do understand that the consequences can result in a child. But the reality of it is this: whatever we choose to do with our bodies, that should be governed by us, not governed by the government. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So
agree wholeheartedly. So before we move on from this topic, do you wish to speak to this at all?
I mean, I speak basically I have the same sentiment. We're telling women they can't have children. I mean, that they can't have abortions, but yet men are becoming women, and we're we're cool with that. So I'm not even gonna open up that rabbit hole. But I had a situation years ago myself that I would have a kid probably 20-something years old.
Wow.
If this was the same situation, like don't use protection. I'm on the pill, this and that, and she messed up, and we weren't ready. Yeah, so
exactly.
Things happen,
and things happen.
That's right.
So it's definitely something that should be a choice.
That's right. That's right. Hold on. How about we? What about men? Everything's put on a woman now.
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Snip.
Yeah.
Hey.
Listen, I'll be honest with you. I think that people have allowed this thing to get away from them.
Yeah.
I mean, in a personal way, and also in the way that the government is governing the country. And people have just let this fall.
Right.
And the whole fact that it had to be leaked for the public to understand what was going on should tell everybody, the people that you're falling over for, to be like, oh, I want them in office. Listen, that person's in office right now, and they were holding it as a secret against you. So now, as far as a woman's choice, listen, fellas, you don't want your woman getting an abortion? Do better.
There you go.
End of the day, do better. Train your sons better, right? Ladies, you don't want your daughters picking bums or looking for validation from no good dudes. Teach them better. Raise them better. I that's just how I feel. But at the end of the day, they should not be doing this. This is completely overreaching.
I can tell you this: whoever leaked it is a warrior.
They're gonna go down.
Oh yeah.
All right, let's change gears. So, Anita, should I call you Miss Taylor?
You can call me Anita. That's fine.
Okay.
Oh wait, my mother will get you.
Okay.
One, it's Annita. Yes. Two ends. So if she hears this, she's gonna be, why didn't you correct me? Your name's not
all right.
Anita.
Hold on a second. I have to apologize to Elijah. When we were doing the promo, he pronounced your name Anita.
That's right.
And I corrected him. And he's like, Dad, it's two N's. It's Anita. And I was like, what? So apologies to the assistant, Mr. Elijah James. I'm sorry.
I'm
so
smart.
For real. So, Anita.
Yes.
You bring so much to the table, but we always like to start at the foundation of where all these things started for you. So, at what point in your life do you say, you know what? Health and medicine is where I want to go. How does that come about?
So I actually wanted to be a pediatrician when I was younger.
Oh, wow.
Aside from being a cop. Oh, okay. But, my mother was like, no, don't do that. My dad was a cop. But
okay.
Yeah, I wanted to be a pediatrician, excuse me. And then I wanted to be a businesswoman. Right.
Okay.
So when I set out to go to college, initially, I went to Brooklyn College and my major was business management.
Oh.
At the time, I was working in Coney Island Hospital.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I was a clerk. Oh boy.
Oh wow.
So my medical idea kind of just went like, no, I can't do this, But yeah, I witnessed a lot, being in the hospital from the age of 19, and I was just like, whew, yeah, let's go into business, right?
Wow.
My minor was psychology, and I ended up doing 2 years in Brooklyn College, and I had to take a break.
Oh wow.
To
Okay.
be honest with you guys, I
Uh-huh.
did 2 years and had 1 grade.
What? How does that happen?
Oh man, you really trying to get me in trouble, right?
Basket weaving 101.
Yeah.
Art.
And it was a D. Oh man, yeah. But yeah. So and then 2 of my colleagues, they asked me, they said, do you want to be a nurse? And I was like, no.
Oh wow.
Like, do I look like a nurse? And they're like, yeah, there's something about you. And I'm like, really? Okay, now. And I then decided, I was working in labor and delivery as a clerk. And the PA there, she's like, I'll never forget her. She said, listen, if you go to PA school, I'll help you. And I was like, all right, cool. So I ended up transferring all of my grades to Kingsborough to go into their biology program. And unfortunately, I couldn't get my schedule changed, which was crazy, So yeah, that kind of pushed me back a little bit. But then again, another colleague, which so happens to be the son of the first one who asked, he's like, do you want to be a nurse? I'm like, what is with you and your mother? Like, seriously, come on, man. I had to go in the bathroom, like, look in the mirror, like, this is all right, nurse. Yeah, okay. And but to be honest with you, I had gained so much respect for nurses. Okay. Because one thing that I learned was that nursing is not just by bedside.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I said, all right, so if I can incorporate business and be an advocate, not just for my patients, but also for my colleagues. Right. My staff. Okay. So Nita, you're gonna pay your dues and you're gonna do bedside nursing until you can go into management, where now I have more of an opportunity to be that advocate.
Right.
So it just took off from there. I literally took a 6-year hiatus from school. Yeah. And then I went back. My mother was like, when are you going back to school? When are you going? I was like, Mom, do you know how much money I wasted already? Like, okay, give me a chance. So took a 6-year hiatus. And after that, it just kept going. I became an LPN. From an LPN, I became an associate's degree RN, went back to school, got my BSN, went back to school again, got an MBA, and went back again and got an MSN and became a nurse practitioner in adult health. So yeah, it's a lot.
Before you say anything, Sally, I have to say this. This woman is on like educational steroids, because you have to understand the field that she's in requires a lot of schooling and it requires a lot of study. And in order to endure and surpass and actually complete these courses is intense. So to hear her say, I took 6 years off.
Is a physician assistant similar to nursing? It's like, what is it? What's the difference? Is it the schooling?
So a PA, or physician assistant, is pretty similar to a nurse practitioner, yes. But a nurse practitioner can function independently. A PA cannot, unfortunately. PA will need the doctor to sign off on certain things. And in the state of New York, let me not speak for other states, but in the state of New York, if you work your 3,500 hours, you can then practice on your own. Which is how I was able to open my own practice.
Oh, wow.
Most people don't know that, so I just announced that. Thank
you. Plug for herself.
And do you get the doctors to sign off, like, or they choose the doctors to sign off on you?
I don't need a doctor to sign off now.
No, the physicians.
Physician assistant.
Yes.
So that whatever doctor works with the PA, that's the doctor that signs off on them. Yep.
So now you complete school.
Yes.
Which seems like in sonic time, right? Do you have a clear understanding of your direction by the time you're done with school? Do you know? Because when you go to school, you went through it.
Absolutely not.
Love that.
Absolutely not.
Love the honesty.
Oh man, come on. It was like, okay, yeah, I'm a nurse now. But I'm still at bedside. Oh man, okay, what are we gonna do now? And so you learn, you research people. One thing that I did, and this is what I tell all my clients too, I researched those who were my supervisors.
Right.
What degrees do these people have?
Right.
And how can I get into that position? I don't want your job, but
Right.
how can I get into that position? Right?
Right.
What's the steps that this person took? And so I basically moved in that way. It was a lot of time. It took a lot of research. It took a lot of trial and error. I literally, and I don't know, a lot of people don't know this either, but when I graduated from RN school, my first job was for a nonprofit. And
Oh,
I
wow.
was, yeah, I was in my little bubble. I'm making like twice my salary. I'm like, yes, And at the time, I'm in my 20s, so I was rich, And 9 months later, with an associate's degree, I became their first nurse manager. And then 2 weeks later, I became the interim vice president of all healthcare services.
Jesus Christ.
Right. And this was through a merger. Okay. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah. So I literally, like, throughout my career, I've been thrown into the fire. And it's like, taking that child, down to the pool, and you're like, all right, I'll throw you in and see if you can swim.
No floaties.
No floaters. All right. If you have a little, what you call that thing, we'll pull you out if you start drowning. No, my mentors were like, drown, drown. Okay, we'll help you out once you, like sucking all the water. But
they gave you the Navy SEALs.
Pretty much. It was like, help me, I'm getting beat up. But everything that I've gone through, to be honest with you, I have to say thank you. Because it at the time, of course, when you're in it, and I'm still in it. Right? But when you're going through it, all you can think about is, man, what did I get into? How can I get out? But then you're like, no, this is what I wanted. Right. This is what I wanted. This is what I have to do.
Right.
So it's all a blessing. All a blessing.
I have to ask you this, because the way that you're portraying the story and you're explaining your perspective at the time, your upbringing, you had both your parents. I'm assuming, right? Because I heard you say your dad and your mom.
So my dad and my mom actually split up when I was 10.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we lived in East New York. Let me start there. So I actually lived with my grandmother, my mom, my sister, and my brother in Bed-Stuy. Right.
Wow.
This is in the beginning when my mom and my dad were like, all right, we're not doing this anymore. They were together for 17 years.
Okay.
But a lot of it was before I was even thought of, But then we all moved to East New York. And then, unfortunately, my parents, they separated, which is, your common story. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So then from there, my mom, my sister, my brother, and I, we moved to Sheepshead Bay housing projects.
Ah.
Yeah. So the most of my upbringing was in a single parent home.
Mm-hmm.
My mother, thank God, I had the mother and still have the mother that I do have, because my mom, man, she's a warrior. And, it's crazy because I actually have the, how can I say, I call it a blessing, because I was raised where my dad was a police officer. So, you have that 9 to 5, he's a civil servant, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was an entrepreneur. So my mother in the 70s, she had a restaurant right here on Hamilton Avenue.
Oh, wow.
Hamilton Hut. Right. So my mother has always had this like entrepreneurial brain.
Spirit, yeah.
And spirit. Right. So it was like, all right, here's my mom. She's teaching me about money. I'm 4. I'm 4. And she's just like, okay, you need a business. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
And by the time I was like 8, I have a business.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, I'm cute, So,
lemonade stand went up.
Hey, I'm just saying. So, as this cute little chubby girl with the dimples, I'm selling cakes. I get the cakes from the church, and I'm going door to door with my sister. My sister's my big sister, love her to death. And I'm just like knocking on doors. Hey, selling cakes. And I'm selling them for I bought them for maybe 50 cents, and I'm selling them for $1. And they're like, oh, you're so cute. Here's 5. And I'm like, yes. Okay. Give my sister a cut. But it was challenging also because my mom was also a fourth parent.
Okay.
And during the time that we moved to Sheepshead Bay, I actually lost 2 brothers.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It was rough because I was 12 when I lost my first brother to gun violence.
Oh, wow.
And my brother was my best friend. So, it was tough. And this was all before his 25th birthday.
Oh.
And then not too long after, I was 13 and I lost another brother to gun violence. So
wow.
It was very rough watching my mom decline. you know. So you lose a child, and you know your kids
That's
are not
tough.
supposed to go before you.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to figure out a lot, you know, on my own, because at that point, and you know, you hear this a lot in families where, okay, the parent now becomes more dependent on you, right?
Right.
So for me, whether that was the truth or not, I felt like, okay, hey, I have to step up.
Yeah.
And now I have to figure out my life, you know. And at such a young age, you just start, your brain just starts going, and now you're like, okay, I have to work, you know, I have to figure things out. I'm 12, but I'm over there with my little notepad, like, okay, I need a business, you know, how are we gonna, you know, start this? I'm like, yeah, Jay-Z and 50 Cent about to write to you to be your protege, okay. So it was a great upbringing, you know, not to discredit my parents or anything like that, but it was not as easy as people would think it was, you know.
None of it. Well, I think the point I was trying to get to was who was the driving force behind your ambition. And it sounds clear to me that both your parents played a role, but your mother was really the driving force behind it all that gave you that get up and go. Right.
Absolutely.
To hear so young going through that's tough. That really is tough. So now you come out of this environment and learn these lessons rather early. What is the first, outside of that position and going through that merger, what is the first like major move that you make that you start to say, you know what, this changes what I need, and I'm gonna jump in head first and make this happen for myself. I want to be my own person.
Ooh, wow. Becoming, you know, I started my business in 2016, right? And the reason I started my business, I started as a career and education advancement coach. Let's start there. And this was 2016, but I had gone to a conference in 2015. So at the time, I was the medical department manager for the New York Times.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't even know that, you know, NYT or a lot of these businesses have a medical department. So it was occupational health. So I'm managing the medical department. I'm like, you know, this is great, you know, but I still want my business, you know. So I ended up going to a National Nurses in Business Association conference in Vegas. And, you know, I'm watching all these nurses and they're up there. And this one nurse, she gets up there and she says, I made $1 million in nursing. I'm like, what?
How,
I'm doing it wrong. Like, wait a minute. You know, so then she gets up there and she's telling us, you know, all the things that she's done. She was the first one to get a CPR contract with Merrill Lynch. Like, ma'am, she said, I didn't even have a CPR license. She's like, she's like, I wasn't an instructor, but there was an opportunity.
Right.
So now she's just going through the motions and she's telling us. So I'm sitting there. And afterwards, I went up to her and I said, listen, you know, I have all these great ideas in my head. You know, everything's on a book, you know, written down, all these things. And she's like, okay, so tell me about yourself. So I'm telling her, I said, you know, a lot of people call me. They call me all the time. And I help people along their journey because I had nothing but time on my hands and I worked as a clerk. And so I did a lot of research on my own. I had to do a lot on my own. Unfortunately, I did not have that solid mentor that had the experience that I could, you know, look toward.
Right.
This woman literally looked at me and she goes, are you charging these people?
Hello.
I was like, no. She's like, I hate to say this, but are you dumb? I was like, what? Oh my God. And so she says, no, don't be offended. She's like, because I've been there. She said, but what I'm trying to tell you is that's your business. Your brain is your business. Your experience is your business. And I was like, all right. Then, good friend of mine, Mr. Joseph, right? He recommended me for a speed mentoring program with Jumani Williams' office. And at that point, I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I'm not set. I don't have a legitimate business right now. You know, that forced me to actually get my LLC. And
nice.
Yes, so that forced me to get my LLC, although I didn't do the event, but I was like, okay, now I have this business, right? Leaving New York Times in 2020, right in the beginning of the pandemic, was rough, right?
Very much so.
Yeah, I was unemployed. And people will think, how are you unemployed? You're a nurse, or you're a nurse practitioner. You know, how are you unemployed? I'm like, I was unemployed. You know, it's like, all right, listen. And, you know, we're like negotiating. They want me to come back. Now I know my worth. I'm like, oh, you know, here's what I need, right? A couple of weeks later, my dad passes away from COVID.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So,
So
Wow. Sorry to hear that.
yeah, thank you. It was rough, you know, and it's my story. And I always tell people it's my story, yes, and thank you for your condolences. But it's the story of so many of us.
Yes.
Just so many of us. And it's like whether or not we want to say it or not, but this is where we have camaraderie.
For sure.
It's rough. Whether it affected you personally or, you know, indirectly, it's still all our stories. So, you know, at that point I was like, you know what? I'm not going back into anyone's office at all. Like,
Oh.
I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what this COVID thing is. And, you know, everybody's getting it. And I don't know. I really, this is at the pivotal moment where I said, you know what? I have to do more. So I pretty much hibernated for like 2 months and I was trying to figure it out. And I was like in this deep, dark space in my life. And I'm just like, how can I help other people? You know, like, what can I do that can help prevent this? So I just like literally dove in. I started, you know, with these you guys have a podcast. I was just like I said, I'm sitting in front of a camera by myself and I'm talking, hey guys. Hope you're safe out there, you know, because this was the quarantine phase, right?
Right.
And when I finally did put myself back on the market, this was in September, well, August. I actually started working for a FQHC, which is a federally funded health center.
Okay.
And right in the heart of Flatbush, where I'm looking around and I'm like, man, these are my people, you know, and these are the people that we need to be helping. So what are we doing? You know, this is great.
Right.
I then asked the supervisor, you know, would you mind if I gave the patients food? Yeah, because you want to talk about food desert. Yeah, there are a lot of restaurants over there, but where's the healthy food?
Kennedy Fried Chicken everywhere.
Hello.
gun store, liquor store.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, let's not get it twisted. We'll eat that fried chicken.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
but on a daily basis, no. And then I started looking at the statistics and I'm like, man, these are the people, our people, who culturally, we have these diets, love the food, but these are the ones that are affected most by what's going on right now. Right. So it started just like, okay, I'm all in. It's either you're in or you're out. I'm all in. And I just went all in. And that
was the linchpin.
That was it.
Okay.
That was it.
Wow.
It's a long story, I know, but
No.
You know.
Definitely good story. Shout out to you gotta switch. Wrong camera. Shouts to our guy Joseph Stray, actually, in the VIP room over here. So we want to thank him for bringing us over here and having us, you know, do our podcast out of here. Anybody looking for parties or anything, hit up Joe Estrella and Joe Star. You guys know him as for the party events. Is nurse practitioner like your field that you're in? Is that a heavy saturated? Is it a lot of competition?
So, you know, I'll put it to you like this. There are a lot of nurse practitioners out there, right? There are not a lot of minority nurse practitioners out there.
Really?
Yes. And see, when I say minority, I had an interview once and I said that there was a lack of, or should I say, underrepresentation. I can't reach out to my peers and be like, hey, you know, let's start this together. Let's do this NPs. Let's go. No, I can't do that. You know, so I'm coming from a position where not only am I a Black woman, but in this field, but I'm also an African-American woman in this field. If you know anything about being a Black woman in nursing, it's usually Caribbean. I am not. Right. So I found myself, you know, not just as a nurse practitioner, but even when I worked in Coney Island Hospital, I found myself as a minority because, you know, it was always, you know, she's too American. And I'm like, what does that mean?
What that Yankee girl doing here?
I'm like, wait a minute. No. Hold on. But, you know, so you tend to cope, right? And we're all one. So it is what it is. We all have the same interest in mind. At least I would hope so. And that's to help the people. But the reality of it is, to answer your question honestly, there are nurse practitioners out there, yes, but when it comes to minority nurse practitioners or Black nurse practitioners, it's not a lot.
Wow,
No.
that's learning something new. I
Mhm.
would have imagined that like minds connect,
Mhm.
and even if you're a Yankee or from the Caribbean, as they say, that there's still a semblance of, kindred spirit sort of thing going on there, or familiarity, if you would.
Mhm.
But I guess, and I'm not trying to sound sexist, sometimes the females could be a little.
Hey,
I'm just
hold on.
saying.
Hold on.
Hold on. But now let's talk about something that you touched on.
Mhm.
You're speaking about food deserts and diets.
Yes.
Now, do you feel with the design of our neighborhoods, um, how do you think is the best way to communicate to our people um, to eat better? Because it's such a touchy conversation to begin with.
Yeah.
If you don't eat, that means that you're starving yourself. When you say diet, that's what people instantly think. That's what I always thought.
Right.
But diet is just basically what you consume on a daily basis.
Correct.
And who is going to be the person, or how do we start delivering the message that we don't have to eat the full plate that can serve three? Like, how do we break that?
Oh, well, in American culture, first of all,
Yes.
right? Let's start there.
Yes.
American culture, and I want to say diet is based on culture.
Yes,
It's based on culture, because you can't say that one diet is suitable for everyone, because it's not, right? You
Mhm.
have vegans, you have people who are diabetic, and their diet is different, So when it comes to who do we teach and how do we get the message across, right? I
Mhm.
thought about this. I thought about this a lot, and this actually goes back to something that I proposed to a school and one of my partners, my business partners. Start with the children,
Mm.
because we as adults, it's rough because we've grown up on certain diets. Like I said, my mom owned a restaurant. It was a soul food restaurant,
Oh.
right? Exactly. So I actually, growing up, I was a very healthy child. I have to watch how I speak.
Uh-huh.
I called my niece Squishy the other day, and she was like,
Oh, wow.
I was like, "You're so squishy." She was like, "That means fat." It's like, she's 6. Okay. I was like, I'm so sorry. You know. Um, but as I got older, that's what I was used to.
Right.
Right. So, I would go to the gym and I'll do these fad diets and all this. And, it's just like, okay, yo-yoing and all these things. Right.
Right.
But then as I progress into my career, and not just my career, but just in life in general.
Mhm.
And Mr. A, you touched on something. You said this midlife. I just turned 40.
I wasn't
Ooh.
trying to. I'm sorry.
Woo.
I wasn't trying to rope you in on that. I'm just. I'm speaking from our perspective.
No, it's cool.
You getting it?
Listen, hey, but and that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We are so accustomed to eating a certain way, right?
Mhm.
I just lost 80 pounds.
Where?
Yes. I lost 80 pounds. I lost 80 pounds, right?
Wait, but why don't? And I don't mean to cut you off. Why don't you tell the audience how that came to be?
Oh, I am.
All right, wonderful. That's what we're looking for.
Yes.
Listen up, ladies. Pay attention.
So, ladies and gentlemen.
There you go.
Okay. But I lost 80 pounds when I started to take my mental health into consideration.
Oh, she's doing it now.
Mm-hmm. So you touched on something when you said health and wealth, right?
Mhm.
So that's my slogan, health and wealth. So when I say wellness, and you can say it's preachy if you like, but
No.
when I say wellness, that's overall wellness, right?
Yes.
Because overall wellness creates balance, balance creates freedom, right?
Yes, it does.
So a few years back, I was like other people, you get comfortable, you're in a relationship, things don't go right, blah, 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 blah. You find yourself gaining weight, all these things, right? So after I took my life into my own hands, and I'm going to say it that way.
Yes.
I then started focusing on underlying reasons why I was overeating, why I couldn't stick to a proper diet. And I want to say what a proper diet is, right?
Yes,
And
please.
I'm going to touch on this very delicately
Mm-hmm.
because, like I said, diet is cultural.
Cultural. Yeah.
Right. So a proper diet would be a diet that is balanced, a diet that helps to keep your blood sugar levels balanced, right?
Right.
Helps to eliminate the risk of heart disease, helps to eliminate the risk of kidney illnesses, right? So you want to make sure your electrolytes are balanced, right? And unfortunately, we have this thing where we drink a lot of caffeine
Mm-hmm.
and consume a lot of sugar. I looked over here twice.
Get him, get him.
So, and what does that cause? Dehydration,
Yes.
right? It throws your entire body off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so starting with my mental health,
Mm-hmm.
I started to feel, okay, what's really causing me to overeat? I was stressed and I was depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my life was all about other people. My life was all about making sure everyone else, from my job to my family to my relationship, making sure everyone else was well.
Wow.
And it's unfortunate because this is not just a woman thing. And I want to touch on that, gentlemen, because you guys go through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. A lot of times we speak about women being, that pillar of the family where they're taking care of the kids, they taking care of the house, they go to work, they go to school, they do this. Gentlemen, unfortunately for you, you are part of the underserved. Yeah, you're part of the underserved because whether it's a cultural thing, you don't take care of yourself.
Nope.
It's funny because when I speak to my male clients, right? Please, oh my gosh, they'll come in with their significant other or their mom or someone, and I'm asking them pertinent questions about their health. And they're looking at the woman like, well, can you answer that? And I'm like, they're like, wait a minute, let me get my wife for a second because she knows the last time I went to the doctor. And it becomes it's a family thing.
Yes.
And that's why I go back to the kids.
Yeah.
So kids, believe it or not, a lot of times when you teach a child something, or if you're in the home with children and that kid knows, okay, we're going to set an alarm, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that, kids will remind you.
Oh, yes, they will.
Right.
They're little reminders. Yes, they're little Post-it notes.
They'll remind you. Right. It's like, okay, again, my niece yesterday, her birthday was Monday, so I took her out to eat. And I said, you can have whatever you want. She's like, whatever I want? I'm like, yes, you were the cool auntie. Right. So she's like, okay. So the gentleman came over and he's like, so what do you ladies want to drink? She looks up, she goes, soda.
You said whatever.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason she did it that way is because she knows she doesn't drink soda.
Right.
She doesn't drink it at her in her home.
Right.
And she knows this is something that dad and mom, they're just like, you know what, it's not so good for you, so you shouldn't consume it. So when she's home and my sister goes to buy a soda or something, she's like, mommy, you're not supposed to drink that soda. Or she's like, mommy, you're supposed to be exercising. And she'll call me and she's lifting her little weights. And I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, Zumba. So it's challenging. It's challenging,
Right.
But one thing that I can say is this: because COVID, has highlighted so much, COVID has also given people like this conduit to speak about their health. It has opened up so many doors for people to now say, okay, maybe I need to get it under control a little bit.
Right.
Right. So it's you can lead a horse to water, right? We always say that,
but you can't make them think.
You can. There you go.
That's really at the forefront of it all. I mean, the reality is the information that you're sharing and the things you're speaking to are all things that are familiar to the audience. And we all know them. We all share them. They're all things that we do or have done.
Right.
And we're in that conditioned mind state.
Correct. That
puts us on a path to just, this is what I do. Right.
Right.
However, when somebody starts feeding you tidbits of information, we don't jump with both feet and start saying, you know what, I need to learn about this.
Right.
And it's then and only then that a person can really make a transformation, if you would. And I think it's amazing that you spoke to the mental health part of it all, because what a lot of people don't realize is when you're not good up here, everything else follows.
That's right. That's right. That's absolutely correct. Because think about it. If you're stressed, right, your whole body is stressed, right? Everything is just off. If you're going through a depression, again, everything is off. What happens? And I just did a like a seminar about health and wealth, how your financial management affects your wellness.
Right.
Right. And I had a financial advisor come in, and she and I, we went through this whole series of things. And so I asked the audience, I said, do you know what it's called the double D's, right? So
now you're talking my language.
It's about to get interesting.
My language. You have me at hello.
So, you know what? That was good. That was good. Okay. But yeah, so there was a study done that said the more debt you're in, the higher your diastolic blood pressure is.
Oh, wow.
Right. And it really doesn't matter if you're young, if you're older, middle age, it doesn't matter. Why? Because you're in debt, you're worried, you're stressed, and then it's a whole cycle. So now you're eating poorly.
Right.
You're eating poorly because let's think about that for a second. If we walk outside and we only have $10 in our pocket, right? And a salad is $15 for grilled chicken and some lettuce.
Yeah.
Right. But then you have the chicken spot and you can get a 6-piece with some fries and man, that sounds good. Okay, a 6-piece with some fries, a roll, a soda. Well, if you're lucky, you get that water over there.
Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Or some beef and broccoli with an egg roll.
And there you go, right? So now we have a choice. We're going to continue to eat the way that we were because what? We can't afford it, or we eat healthy and spend our last $10 and that's not going to stretch. So it's rough, right? So now you're back to being stressed. And not only that, okay, so now you can't afford, a healthy meal. You're stressed out, so you're overeating. Some people don't eat. I'm not that person. But you can't now digest your food properly. So you're bloated. You're sluggish. Why? Because your GI tract, your GI system, that's a whole organ system, right? So this organ system that you now need to flush out your body, whatever you're putting into your body is going to take a longer time to now come out.
Wow.
Right. So if it's going to take a longer time to come out, how do you think your body's going to feel?
Slow.
Correct. You're bloated. And now this just contributes to you feeling super stressed, right? And then what happens? People don't go to the doctor. Why don't you go to the doctor?
We don't want to know what's going on.
Yeah,
we want the results.
Men. Okay. Sorry, not sorry. But yeah. So you have now, you're not going to the doctor. You may have heartburn. You may even have an ulcer.
Yep.
So you have stress on top of eating poorly. Now you have an ulcer. Now what? You're not going to the doctor because maybe you can't even afford to go to the doctor because maybe you don't even have insurance.
Oh, wow.
That's another thing we need to talk about, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then some people, like you said, Mr. A, they don't want to know what's going on. Like, your body, people, we know when it's off, right? But sometimes you don't want to hear it. I know people personally who come to me and they're just like, hey, can you prescribe me some blood pressure medication? And I'm like, when was the last time you went to your doctor? And they're like, I don't want to go to the doctor right now because, I know what he's going to say.
No, you don't.
No, they know, because everything that you were supposed to do, that plan that you put together with your provider, whether it's a doctor, an NP, a PA, you didn't stick to it, right? I'm not your scapegoat. Like, I'm not that person that's going to be like, all right, here, I'll slide you. No, because now I'm going to treat you the same way, because now guess what? you're my patient.
Whoopsie.
Whoopsie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it's a challenge, man.
Tough terrain. Tough terrain.
It is. But we can do it.
Yes, we
We
can.
can do it. And I do not, let me quote, I do not believe in that saying, if I can do it, you can do it too. No. Absolutely not. Because
Nope.
no. What I do believe is, if you want to do it, you can do it. If you have guidance to do it, you can do it. If you have information and you trust the person that is there to help you along your journey, that can be, and you said that, Mr. A, Sally is your accountability partner, right?
My conscience.
I love it. Like, when you did that introduction, I'm sitting there like, yes, okay. That simple reminder.
Yeah.
You have a friend that's on you like, hey, listen, brother, we need to do this.
Yep.
Are you on top of it? We're on top of this together. And on top of that, now you have your provider that you trust.
Right.
And see, one thing that a lot of people come to me and they say is, my doctor, I'm not too sure. My NP, I'm just not too sure if I want to tell them certain things. And I say, well, you do know, I ask them certain questions and I say, this is part of your wellness.
Yeah.
You have to feel comfortable enough and confident in your provider enough to freely tell them what's going on with you so they can help you in the right way. They can guide you in the right way. And what I also tell people is this: when it comes to whether it's the diet changes, things like that, you have to be a part of that plan. And
absolutely.
Old school, right? Old school, you'll hear like my mom, well, my doctor said I got to do X, Y, and Z.
Right.
And I say, okay, well, how do you feel? Let's talk about it, and they follow blindly. Ask for more information. It's your right.
Yeah.
Someone tells you something and then they write a script. No, question it. Be your own advocate. And that's the thing. A lot of us don't have an advocate. A lot of us don't understand, okay, yes, I can ask a question. I can challenge what you're saying, right? It helps us. It keeps me on my toes,
Right.
I hate WebMD, but I've done it myself.
Sally, I don't know about you, but that was going to be my next thing to her. Like, you get the freaking online doctors coming in?
Absolutely. Look, I'm probably one of them when I go to my own. But, I kind of mask it with, well, I read in the book. The book of my cell phone.
Oh, wow.
But
you mentioned, sorry, Anita.
Yeah.
You mentioned COVID. Actually, COVID was a big state. Like, I used it as a positive.
Yes.
I said the gyms were closed. I got to get out. I got to walk. I got to do something.
Yeah.
I started doing intermittent fasting. I like it. Like you said, sometimes when you eat more, you feel terrible. Like I did veggie days, like I didn't eat carbs. And then the next day I would feel great. And it's like, I couldn't sustain it, but I wouldn't fool myself saying I could live this every day, because I know I wouldn't. Just like my Pepsi, I stopped it. Unless you're sponsoring us, this is the devil. But, it's definitely, if you want it, it's on you. You got to want to do it. And I love the fasting. I start at 12. I eat my meals, I try to keep my window to 8 o'clock. And that's been like the best thing. I try to go a pound a week down, and it's been the best. It's been the best for me.
All right.
So I'm trying to get my guy here to
listen,
start walking and doing his thing.
I just did keto.
Can I tell you something? I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad Sally's talking about this now.
Yes.
Prior to COVID, 2019, I was 329 pounds.
Really?
I'm telling my business. I was 329 pounds. I had been heavy for a while. And it's not because of anything else but my wife's love to cook for me. And culturally, I could sit down. She could come from work, just like you were talking about. Come from work, cleaning, cooking, doing all sorts of things, and cook a meal and serve me this plate. I'm talking about arroz con habichuela, 3 chuletas, and like a little. She would throw like a little piece of aguacate and some salad because she knew I was like, yeah, whatever. And I would wreck it, not because I'm just greedy. I would wreck it because it was just amazing.
Yes.
And she knew right through my stomach. And so I started doing research because I just got tired of being, a fat fuck. Just the bottom line.
For lack of better term.
Yeah, for lack of better term, I got tired of being a fat fuck. I got tired of trying to tie my sneakers and cutting off my blood circulation.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to intermittent fasting, and I started learning about calorie counting, and I just went in head first.
Mm-hmm.
And I went down to 240.
Wow.
And I was looking crazy. My partner here was like, yeah, you on that juice. And I was like, oh, I must be doing something right. But I was in the gym 6 days a week. Like, I was fanatical.
Wow.
COVID hit, took everything away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking to what you brought up again, the mental part, your mental, because you're in this box and you're just like, you're not doing well.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that like I was going crazy, but it just wasn't good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I put some more weight on. But last week, got on the horse, started fasting again. Again, I just had a health scare. So, my son is on it as well. And he's a trooper because, like you said, he's a child. I'm a child.
Hey.
This guy's 24 years old.
That's
To
your
me.
baby.
Yeah.
That's your baby. Don't worry about it.
23, sorry. But he's like, Dad, he'll remind me. Right. But I think that to sort of put a bow on it, having my son and myself involved in this thing made me very mindful about my health. And it's made me very conscious about the things that I eat.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm able to talk to people about like, hey, count your calories. How many calories are you eating a day? What? Yeah. 2,000 calories a day. That's it.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And you measure it. Men and women are different. You have different height, weight, all that stuff, age. It all plays, but you have to want to do it, and you have to jump in head first.
Correct.
So, all that to say, how do people get away from processed and move more towards whole foods? How does that happen?
That's a challenge. It's a challenge because a lot of our food is processed, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. And, eating more vegetables, fresh vegetables. Again, it comes back to diet, right? So eating more fresh vegetables, being mindful where you shop is also important, right? So this is something that we actually spoke about during that financial wellness session also. We didn't speak on processed foods, but we spoke on how people shop and where we eat. Are we cooking our own food? That's important. It's very important. And I'm going to touch on that because of, me doing keto, my body completely, it's just like I felt so different because I was cooking my own foods and being mindful of what I'm consuming. Right.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you believe or understand that intermittent fasting is a form of keto?
So it's funny because I was actually doing intermittent fasting while doing keto.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I just did an Eid prayer and celebration. Right?
Okay.
And some of my partners, they were fasting. And of course, they're just like, oh God, I need to eat, But with their fasting, they lost a lot of weight also. And it wasn't just about the weight. It was getting back to regulating their body.
Yes.
Right.
Talk about it.
That's right. So yeah. And people don't understand it. Fasting, you have benefits of fasting. And then you also have, your cons to fasting too.
Right.
Because let's not forget that your body needs fuel.
Right.
Right. So your body usually uses carbs or sugar, carbs break down to sugar. And that's how our body runs on. That's how we get our energy. Right. So if you're not, let's just say you're not doing keto, right? Because with keto, you go into ketosis and, now your body is utilizing the fat, is burning the fat, which is what we call fat burning. Right. So with that, that's how you're losing the weight rapidly because it's sucking all the fat in. It's like, okay, we're starving. Right. But if you're not, and let's just say you are now fasting, your body sometimes goes into survival mode because it doesn't know when it's going to get more energy, right? Yeah. Another meal. So that's also a way to retain your weight.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But then again, like I said, there are also benefits to fasting, of course, if it's done the right way.
Exactly.
And that's what I think people don't understand. First of all, let's start here. Before you even change your diet, consult with your provider,
Mm-hmm.
because you may have some underlying conditions, or you may have a condition that someone else does not have, that this is not good for.
Hypoglycemia, maybe.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. Right. So it's like, yeah, like being a diabetic with
Mhm.
diabetics it's come on, it's a lot happening with your body.
Yeah.
And if your body now doesn't know how to process sugar or the insulin, you have insulin resistance and all these things. So many other, these are, it's affecting so many other parts of your body too.
Right.
Right. So consult with the provider on what is best for your body. Your lab work, look at your labs, go through the labs with your provider. And this is one thing that I always tell people, as far as like WebMD.
Our favorite doctor.
Yeah, WebMD. You can definitely look at that, and you'll look at the levels, and you look at the cholesterol, total cholesterol under 130, your LDL versus your HDL, triglycerides, all these things. But if you don't understand it, just like you said, Mr. A, counting your calories. If you don't understand how many calories as a woman or as a male, or even your age, how many calories you should be taking in a day, or taking in consideration your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because someone who is taking in 2,000 calories a day, but just sitting back doing nothing but watching TV, that may be too many calories for that person to take in because they're not active,
Mhm.
versus someone else who's extremely active, and they may need more carbs or calories or whatever it is, protein. Here's the thing. People don't realize this too. You can get a complete protein just by eating rice and beans.
Mm.
How about that?
Mm.
Right? So understanding nutrition.
Exactly.
Right. Even if you have to consult. See, I'm not a nutrition guru, right? But I do have some insight on it, and I also consult with the gurus.
There you
So
go.
me doing that, and that's why I say, yeah, we in this this medical field, it's not just like, okay, well, she's an NP, so she knows everything. No, I have to learn just like you do. I have to learn from the people who actually do this. So when it came to me doing keto, right, I had to consult with someone else. Of course, I spoke with my cardiologist first to make sure that, okay, this is a good diet that I can take on for the 30 days, or whatever it is that I can take on and be healthy doing it.
Mm.
Right. Because just because, everybody else is like, oh, keto, keto may not have been good for me.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
Everyone is different.
That's
Also,
right.
Anita, you mentioned lab work. I had some lab work done recently, right? And us in the Latino community, right? We
Mhm.
grew up on adobo and all that sazon, right? Like me. But
We did
I
too.
switched up, my seasonings, and I was frustrated because my cholesterol and my levels went up, and
Mhm.
and I was like, why is this happening? If I'm
Right.
Is there any, like, am I missing something? Like, was it?
So it doesn't necessarily have to just be the seasoning. Usually seasoning can raise your blood pressure.
Mhm.
As far as the cholesterol is concerned, well, depends on what type of foods you were consuming also. So if
Right.
you were consuming foods that are high in cholesterol, Sally, then yeah,
Mhm.
that's going to play a major part. And it's just like doing keto. People don't realize that just because you're eating a lot of fat, you're not supposed to take in a lot of foods also that are high in cholesterol.
Right.
And that's where now, okay, that education piece comes into it. But when you did your labs, you noticed that your cholesterol was high.
Yes, my
Okay.
good cholesterol was up, and the
Okay.
bad cholesterol. No, sorry, the bad cholesterol was up. Yeah,
Right. Your LDLs versus
Right.
your
Mhm.
okay. So your LDL is your bad cholesterol, your HDL is your good cholesterol.
Right.
It's funny because when I was in school, I was like, I don't understand that.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
what H high? But that sounds like it's high, right?
Right.
Right. But there, of course, are things that there are things that you can do that can help with that. And speaking with your provider
Yeah,
and discussing your diet and your exercise level and things like that can help lower that.
I gotta see a cardiologist.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm glad that this discussion is happening, because we're touching on a lot of things that I think I wanted to present. I'm sure me and Sally wanted to present to you, and the conversation is sort of evolving in all these different avenues. And I think it's great because even the people in the room are starting to chime in about what we're speaking about, and it's super, super important and pertinent information that everybody should be paying attention to. Start to learn what it is that you need to be optimally performing when you eat and what you eat. And when you start to understand that, things will start to change for you. So with that being said, I know we were talking about getting away from processed foods and whole, delving into proper eating of whole foods. Do you think a lot of our issues arise from the fact that we don't take the time to meal prep because of our crazy lifestyles?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. It's bad.
It is, right?
It is, because again, especially adults, man, we have lives and we're doing this now, and you run from one place to the next. So what do? We grab something real quick.
Right.
And you grab these bars and all these things that we think are healthy, and a lot of that is advertisement.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, the fact that we don't meal prep, and meal prepping is very important, but it's also time consuming.
Right.
But if we take a day, again, going back to, if we want to do it,
yeah,
we can do it, because we make time for the things that we want to do, just like we make time for the people that we want to make time for. Right. So if it's something that we're going to take seriously, and we're going to take our health into our own hands, right, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. Set aside maybe a Sunday. And even if you can't meal prep for the entire week, maybe, you do it 3 days, and your accountability partner meal preps for the two of you for the other 4 days, right?
There you go.
Make a plan. System. That's right. Make a plan.
Support system is also very important. And I think that everybody should also understand that this conversation is like culminating in all these different factors. And I think that a lot of the people in the room it's 50-50. Some are in relationships, some aren't. But I think for the people that are in relationships, you have to have the support of your partner, because that just makes it the journey a little bit easier. If you can get that mental support and have them help you with prepping and just trying to do what you want to do. I mean, if that person loves you and wants to see you live past, wherever you are in life now, I mean, come on, you got to help them take care of themselves. Right. And for the single people, you just have to make the determination that this is what I want to do. And I think speaking of that, that's the one thing that I also got all the time from Sally. Sally's always been a very strong-willed minded person when he comes, very athletically geared. So as an athlete, his focus was, I'm doing this shit. It doesn't matter what it is. So when he started getting more into fitness and taking care of himself, in our conversations, that delivery was always there. Right. Like, listen, stop making fucking excuses and just get it done. And after a while, it starts to click, because it's like, listen, I'm looking in the mirror and I'm blowing up. Right. And I have children and I want to be a granddad, and I'm not going to be here. But then, everybody needs to make that decision for themselves. Right. Now, getting off of meal planning, what do people our age that are in their 40s and they're now getting to halftime, what should be their not motivation, but their activity levels to keep themselves healthy? Because we live in a culture of Netflix and chill. Not the chill part, but just the Netflix, right? What should their level of activity be to keep themselves in a good space if they're eating properly? Right? Like, should it be heavy, moderate exercise? Should it be, or is it just like whatever you can do, you should do?
So that's exactly what I was going to say. First of all, we have to talk about tolerance and endurance, right? So everyone is individual, right? All of these things that we're discussing right now is individualized. So when I speak to people of all ages, the first thing that I say is, what can you tolerate? And we go through that. So it's what you can tolerate. But if you can get in at least 30 minutes of exercise a day, even if you can't get it every day, but 30 minutes of exercise at your level, whether that's walking or high intensity, then do it. Even if you're in a chair. And this is the thing that people don't understand, because you have people who can't get out of that chair. You have people who are disabled. That's right. Yeah. So if you can move your legs and, Or even if you have somebody to help you move your legs, passive, right? That's right. Look, hey, if somebody can do that for me, I'll do it. But I'm saying, you have somebody who can help you,
Yeah,
move those
stretch your
limbs,
limbs.
get out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because not only is that helping, people think that exercise is just for your weight. It's
Mhm.
not.
It's not.
No, it's all around. It's everything. It is your circulation.
Mhm.
And believe it or not, the more your body, like the more circulation is regulated,
Mhm.
oxygen flows to your brain, right? So with oxygen flowing to your brain, that also boosts your confidence.
Mhm.
Hello.
It's gonna boost your confidence, fellas. Yeah, she's killing me, right?
Listen, how do you feel when you come from the gym? You in the mirror like, yeah, first day you thinking I lost something. You didn't lose not a thing, but I'm just saying you lost your sweat. But
White
we
fish.
feel different.
Yes, we
Fellas,
do.
it's like getting a haircut. Come on.
It mentally makes you feel like
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's
It's
right.
the animal going.
That's right. Absolutely. It makes you feel better about yourself. It gives
Mhm.
you that boost.
Endorphins.
And yes, absolutely. You have your it's funny because I actually did my
strong like bull.
yeah, exactly. I did my thesis because you said endorphins. I'm only going to
Mhm.
mention this. I did my thesis in grad school on the benefits of a healthy sex life.
Yeah, I was gonna go there, but I'm glad you brought it up. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the benefits of a healthy sex life, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's exercise.
It is.
It is exercise. It may be
is.
moderate. Some people swing from chandeliers, so it could be high intensity. And then you have your folks who have osteoporosis who think that they can't. But yeah, you can. You just have to boost yourself up and whatever you can tolerate, right? But it also helps, just like, like I said, it's exercise, but it helps to release those endorphins, your happy hormones.
Yes,
right?
the happy hormones. Yes.
That's right. That's right.
Listen, I'm
In the
glad.
face.
I'm glad you brought that up. People, let me tell you something. I have been with the flu and 102 fever. Doesn't stop
Didn't stop.
nothing. I'm telling you. And if and I feel for people who who have difficulties, because there are.
Mhm.
Everybody's relationship is in a different space, and some people are physically and whatever. Everybody has their different obstacles. But I think if people found themselves in that space a lot more, I think it sort of lowers barriers. I think there's some semblance of like, do I really need to be that asshole today?
Not every day.
My partner just gave me a good something. Do I really need to be that person? Right?
There you go.
And I think people should really exercise that organ more often, because I think it'll calm a lot of nerves.
Mhm.
Okay. And if you're just joining the show, I'm your host, Mr. A.
Sally song in the building.
And tonight, this is the set 6145. Tonight, we're sitting with Annita Taylor, Miss Annita Taylor. And she's giving us the rundown on everything health, man. And this conversation is going everywhere. And it's a beautiful thing. So Annita, we're in 2022. What is your sort of projected goals, or what is it that you want to see come to fruition for yourself and business?
Ooh, that is a very good question.
Got him.
Ooh, you did that one. Whoa, wasn't expecting that. What I can say is this, and I said this at the beginning. I have been so blessed. What you put out there is what you receive. I believe that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I've seen and read The Secret.
Mhm.
But I do believe whatever we put out into the universe, as long as you're a good person, you do receive good, right?
Yes.
Life is all about balance, and you have to take the good with the bad, of course. But that bad, you always turn it into a positive. That's what I see. But projections.
Mhm.
Ooh, I'm about to reveal a couple of things.
Really? Oh, exclusive. Hold on. Exclusive. Let's go.
So a lot of people know, and I wasn't gonna reveal this now, but
This is special.
I'm gonna do it. So a lot of folks know of my business, Tailor-Made Services LLC, which we hit the ground, we hit the pavement running. Like I said, we started out as a career and education advancement coaching company, and just started to incorporate overall wellness and bringing that into the community and going straight to the people. So I actually just opened a private practice, which is Noir Well Mobile Adult Health in PPC.
Oh wow.
And again, we're going to be taking it to the people. And now we can offer more services, such as primary care services to people who cannot come out of their homes. We do home visits. Whatever you need, we're there. We'll go to your office. We work now with a lot of corporations that are asking us to do like pre-employments, things like that. So this is very exciting. And I just registered my nonprofit.
Oh,
Yeah.
love it. That's what's
So
up.
the Well Ed Project Inc.
Nice.
Yeah, we have the book coming out soon, which will be published this year. Into the New World, Volume 1, which is all about career and academic advancement. What is Volume 2, fellas? Entrepreneurship.
There you go. Gamble on
So,
yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I see great things. We one thing I'm not going to say yet, but we TaylorMade Services is now an official partner of a worldwide renowned organization.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which I
Ecstatic.
listen. I have to leave something.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. Can't give it all away at
Can't
once.
give it all away.
When you do part 2
Yeah,
with us.
I'm gonna do part 2. There we go.
Hello.
But yeah, so we will. I'll put it to you like this: every 5 years, I have made a plan, right? And it's just been so good because I've been able to hit my targets, right? I want to say my last 5-year plan, I said we are going to make TaylorMade Services a household name.
A brand.
It's
Yeah.
a brand. That's
There
right.
you go.
So now I'm proud, to see where this company has gone. I'm proud to even see or see in my head where it's gonna go, and just to see the other companies flourish and help those in the community that actually need it. So we started out doing this, and we're gonna continue to do exactly what it is that needs to be done within this community. And the one phrase that we are gonna keep pushing is health equity.
Oh wow.
Health equity.
Yes.
Why? Because without it,
Yeah.
we see what happened with COVID, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right. So health equity, we're advocates for it. When it comes to finances, the same thing. Education equity.
Yes.
Right? So that's what I see. That's what I see. We're gonna keep doing our part.
Wow.
Mhm.
We talk about Sally and myself often talk about entrepreneurship. We often like to have entrepreneurs on the show. We advocate for people to gamble on themselves.
Mhm.
And it's important that we see and our children see reflections of us in this realm, because it's important for them to understand that they do not need to be on anybody's payroll. They can collect, they can make their own payroll. They can do for themselves if they so desire and have an idea and are motivated enough. They can make that happen for themselves. And a lot of the years, Sally, I mean, you could speak to this. A lot of the years he's already been an entrepreneur, doing shows and doing parties and running leagues, and how it's like. I know it's very important to us that we have guests like this on, and to just hear the plan and what you're trying to do. You're leading by example, like the guest Miss Zenobia Mercado just said. Is direly important. It's needed. But I want to ask you something, because we've been talking about COVID.
Yes.
What has been your stance as far as how COVID has been handled by local and federal, just the government overall? Like, do you think it was a well thought out, execution plan, and how they treated the health practitioners after the fact when the vaccine rollouts came, the mandates, I should say? Do you think that was, correct?
Man, it's tough. It's tough because I want to say this. COVID has really exposed us, right? COVID has exposed, I like to use the words where we have room for improvement.
Yes.
Where we have room for improvement. But COVID also exposed where systemic racism is alive and well.
Oh wow.
Oh yeah, right.
Speak freely,
Oh,
please.
I am. I am. And it's no, this is, we know this, it's nothing new. And this has been, it's prevalent. So it's something that we have seen, and it was not properly addressed.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Sally, you said something. You said, because of COVID, you started going for walks and things like that, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure exactly where you live, but what I've noticed is that in the underserved communities, it was hard for people to even go to the parks. Why?
Yes.
Because the pavement was messed up.
And some
Okay?
parks were locked.
Yeah, parks are locked. Dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So COVID has really highlighted a lot of this, to the point where the New York City Department of Health declared racism. How did they say
Public
it?
health issue.
Thank you, a public health crisis. Right. So I'm not saying anything that's not new or known.
Right.
Right. So when our health system says, "Hey, this is a problem," I'm looking at my yeah, it's been a problem. It has been a problem. So how was it handled? I think that things could have been handled better. Right. I think it could have been handled better. I believe that, again, we have a long way to go. We have a long way to go. We put out there that it was okay for the healthcare providers, to put their lives on the line
with nothing.
Correct. And it's a catch-22 though, because as a healthcare provider, we vow to do no harm.
Right.
And when we vow to do no harm, we know that comes with stipulations, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know in our profession that there are certain things that we may have to do that you as the layperson doesn't have to do. And sometimes that comes with vaccination. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is. This is what we signed up for. And I know people are going to kill me when I say that, but you'd be surprised.
No, I wouldn't be. Not today. Not all the shit that we see.
So like I said, as a healthcare provider, doing no harm, what does that mean? Does that mean I have to get vaccinated? Sometimes that's what it means, and if that should change, and we saw that it was going back and forth. We saw that.
Yes.
So today you have to get vaccinated, tomorrow you don't. But I also saw a lot of healthcare professionals running to get vaccinated to the point where, and I'm going to be honest, there were certain hospitals that ran out of vaccine. When the vaccine first came out, it was only for first responders, healthcare providers, people of that nature. And you didn't have enough.
Right.
So I advocated for the providers in certain hospitals that were close to where I worked to be able to come to us to get it. I went so far as into calling the Department of Health. I mean, I harassed them because, there was this thing where if we didn't utilize the supply that we had to give it back. And my thing is, but you have people who need it. You have people who want it,
right.
And those people who don't want it, we're here to educate you, and that's all I can do. I can only educate and provide you with that option. Right. So when it came to mandates, you're talking to somebody right now who had COVID multiple times.
Really?
Oh, yes. So you remember when people were getting sick before we even knew what COVID was?
Yeah.
Right. I think I had COVID. And at that point, I had pneumonia. My strep test came back negative. My flu test came back negative. Everything was negative. So what is it? This is before we were testing for COVID. But now, I'm saying to myself, man, I really think I had COVID. And fast forward, I ended up getting COVID again. And, I know we talk about natural immunity and things like that.
That was going to be my next question.
You're looking at somebody right now who ended up with COVID again. And it's like, okay, so you have the natural immunity because you've had COVID, right? So, and natural immunity and vaccine and all this, it's great. But you're also looking at someone who has long COVID.
Oh.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So I actually had to go to my cardiologist before getting the second dose because I started having some chest pain.
Mm.
And what my cardiologist said is, I really don't believe that that's from you getting the vaccine. That is likely from you having COVID.
Oh wow.
Right. And they're starting to see that a lot. So there are so many studies out right now that we can all read when it comes to natural immunity, COVID. But here's the thing: when you get a vaccine, right?
Hmm.
And again, this is just education because there are people who still don't want the vaccine.
Right.
And okay, you have your choice, which is 100% up to you, right?
Hmm.
But when you get a vaccine, the vaccine is to help you if you should get that illness, right?
Hmm.
It's so it can be less effects, hopefully. Think about the flu vaccine. So with COVID, let's talk about immunity to the first strain, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so now we're immune to that one, but then it mutated and there's another one, you're not immune to it. Then you get that one, now it mutated again, and you're not immune to that either. So then what happens? So now what they're saying is the mRNA, this vaccine was designed to mimic natural immunity. It was designed to mimic the actual, disease or ill,
Virus.
thank you, virus. So if that's the case, think about the flu vaccine. We always change that also, right? And then some people, if you have a compromised immune system, you have to get a second dose, and people don't realize that either. A lot of people don't know that there are some people. Let's just say if you have cancer or HIV or something, yeah, a second dose is recommended for you too.
Mm.
Then people were saying, oh, but what about the MMRV?
Mm.
Those things don't change. It hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Not as rapid as the flu and COVID now. So
Right.
we've seen this. So again, when it comes to, like, let's just say vaccines, right, or vaccinating, it's a choice, but you also want to make sure that you're keeping your family safe, especially those who have a compromised immune system, your elderly, your kids. Eventually, I'm not a family nurse practitioner. I'm an adult nurse practitioner. But when it comes to the kids, eventually that's going to be the thing with the kids too. It's going to be mandated that they're going to have to get it to go to school. We see that.
Mhm.
So what I say is, even if you don't want to get vaccinated, just wear your mask. Wear a mask, social distance, whatever you need to do when you're in like a crowded area or something, right? Just do whatever you need to do to not just keep yourself safe, but for those around you too.
Right.
Right, because we walk around and people have gotten the spike in December. A lot of the people who got COVID in December were vaccinated.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
Yeah.
Like, man, just come jump on me.
Hey.
What I find funny now is I got a couple of friends that were, oh, it's just a glorified flu and this and that.
Okay.
And now they're out like 2 weeks and they're like, oh, this is killing me. I'm like, yeah, why don't you post that on Facebook the way you posted about
Yeah,
that
right.
stuff? You know?
Look, it's still active, man. K Slay.
Yeah.
Come on. I didn't even know he was in the hospital on event and all these things all this time.
Yeah. He had gotten it, and we knew he was in the hospital, but then the news was that he'd gotten out. So we were like, all right, cool. And then out of nowhere, Case Slay's on his deathbed. And I'm like, wait a minute. I thought he was out of the hospital. What happened? But that's it took a lot of people. And I mean, firsthand, going through the experience that you did with your dad. It's a touchy subject. It's especially touchy when it's somebody who's close to you and that you love.
Yeah.
I think overall that the handling of the situation is just like really goofball for me. I think it's the best way I can put it.
Yeah.
You had a bunch of goofballs running around here, didn't know what the fuck to do. And they were just like putting band-aids on stab wounds. Doesn't work.
It's unfortunate because, again, we were all in this together.
Allegedly.
Oh, well,
you know what I mean? We were all in it together. We were kind of not together. It was a
I'll put
mess.
it to you like this.
Mm-hmm.
What you guys knew, I knew. Patients were coming like, can you tell me? And I'm like,
nope.
I can tell you these are the guidelines that we go by. And the guidelines that we get, you can probably go on the CDC's website or, FDA, whatever it is that you want to go on, and you'll probably read the same thing that we're reading.
Wow.
So, I know some people were like, I know you providers know more than we do. You're getting paid. And I'm like, there's no money in this. I'm literally like putting my life on the line right now. But and that's why I say for us,
Right.
right?
Right.
Us, the little people,
Right.
we're in this together.
Right.
And the way that we had to handle it, it was rough because you have these things where, think about it now, a lot of these organizations, these big companies like EY, a lot of these companies are coming up with these health equity departments, right? And the reason they're coming up with these health equity departments is not so much for patient care. No, these are financial advisory companies, right? It's to project something like this happening again, and now holding companies accountable for being prepared.
The response.
Correct. Right. And we did not have adequate supplies.
Nope.
How, Sway? like how, this is healthcare. And it's not like we haven't been through pandemics before. Viruses, bacteria, all these things were here before we were here, and it's going to be here after. So how is it as a nation we were not prepared, and how is it that it was handled one way here and handled another way? We got what we got.
I know, teacher. When you fucking vote for a game show host and he's running amok intercepting PPE deliveries across the nation, that really doesn't help when you got a bozo at the helm. It just doesn't. And a lot of people say, oh, he ran it like a business. Yeah, his businesses are trash. Let me know if anybody in the room, do you have a Trump suit, a Trump tie, Trump vodka, Trump steaks, anything, Trump's football league? Do you have anything from any of his businesses? Oh, you don't. Oh, okay. That's what happens. And the sad thing, and I hate to get so energized about that, but the sad thing is that same bozo is about to take over the country again. And we're gonna save that discussion for another time.
Yeah, let's not. I'm trying to be politically correct here.
No, hey, listen, there's none of that here. You can be as free as you like.
Again, but these are reasons why you started seeing pop-up companies like mine, who we learned to pivot, we learned to transition and go into the community. And you had people who wanted the vaccine, but it wasn't marketed to them. Right. But it's here.
Yeah.
And then the excuse was, oh, well, these people are afraid to get the vaccine. They don't want the vaccine. And I say, how did you know that? You're not marketing it to them. So my thing was, how do we get, even if we can't get the vaccine to people because they don't want it, how do you get the information to the people?
So they can,
you go into the community,
yeah,
right?
You have to.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because people were scared to come out, still scared to come out. Come on, we're still in the midst of a pandemic. I'm sorry, not sorry, but people are walking around and living their best life, and it's great. It's fantastic to be able to go out and get reacclimated into the world, but
something's still out there.
That's right. And as we see now, New York just hit medium risk again.
Yeah.
Right. That's because we're partying like rock stars out here.
Like we've been locked up for a year and a half.
Pretty
maybe?
much. Right. So, you want break free. I get it. But at the same time, it's like you have people who want to live. Right. But then a lot of businesses shut down. A lot of doctors' offices shut down. Unfortunately, a lot of people have perished to COVID. So how do you get the information and the treatment to these people that actually want it and need it? You have to go to them. And a lot of people weren't willing to do that, or weren't, not even say willing, prepared to do that.
Right.
So that, again, highlight. We have been put on the spotlight, right? So yeah, we still have a long road to go, but we're moving.
Well, hopefully that'll change. And not only that, but hopefully we can have that in the part 2. Because if you're just joining the show, you're out of luck. You missed out. You're going to have to watch it on the rerun. Go to the YouTube page, subscribe, follow, check it out. Amazing conversation with Miss Annita Taylor. I had to get it correct. Anita, before we go, I want to just tell you you're part of the Set family. If there's anything that you're doing in the future that needs some sort of promotion or that needs attention that our audience should see, you just reach out. The platform is yours at any time. And we're so appreciative of you giving us your time. And we definitely hope that we're going to have a part 2 on a much broader scale conversation. Maybe we could find out what's up with that ring on Anita's finger.
Oh, there's no ring there.
That's the point. See, I ployed you into that one.
Single and available.
Dom's all over.
Yeah. Dom is already shooting his shot in the.
Oh man.
Taking applications. No. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I do appreciate you having me on the show.
Of course.
This has been fantastic. Like I said, it's my first time sitting down, with cameras and other people, not just in front of my own. So this was wonderful. So thank you. I really appreciate this.
Amazing. And thank you for your time. We're going to close out the show. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week. Salute to our guy, Chino. I'll say Chino. I was going to call him by his government all the time. Chino, our printer over at KC Customs for You on Instagram. Go get your set hoodies, t-shirts, hat, whatever. Next week, we will be having another guest. And Sally, any closing words before we go? Yeah.
If Saturday, if you're coming out, you got your tickets, comedy show at the VIP room. If you didn't get your tickets, you're shit out of luck. Sold out.
Yep.
And happy Mother's Day.
Yes.
Ladies, love you all. My niece Amber, it's her first Mother's Day. Enjoy it. Talk to you guys soon.
We're out of here, people. Enjoy your Mother's Day. Love to everybody in the room. All right. We'll see you next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m.